What's going on, guys? And welcome to the Prem Talking Podcast. Today I'm joined by Liam. Say hello, Liam.
Hello.
And today, as you can tell from the title, we are doing our Prem predictions. Now, this is going to be a very interesting one. It's just going to be me and Liam this year, all the way through. We may have a few guests on, but I think we should get started with the predictions. So we'll kick off between 20th to 18th, so the bottom three teams that we think will be relegated. I have gone for, in bottom place, Fulham. In 19th, Villa. And 18th, Brighton. Liam, you?
So I've gone 20th Fulham, the same. 19th West Brom and 18th Aston Villa.
So we both think Fulham will finish bottom. I'm not.
I think
their business so far. They've took this a different way. I think if they get Ariola, who is rumoured to join, that's a cracking goalkeeper, and you need a good goalkeeper for the Premier League. Can't come up with like a Brad Guzan, that type of player. Like last year they struggled in goal, definitely.
the reason I've put them bottom is the defence. I just don't think they have enough in defence. Like last time when they spent that 100 million and everyone thought they were going to end up in mid-table, but they ended up going down, and I just don't think they have the defence to stay up. They have a decent midfield. They've only really brought in two players, but I think they're going to go down.
They brought in a left back, Antonio Robinson from Wigan for 2 million, and you're like, okay, that's not that bad, but it's just he's a League One player / Championship. Is he ready for the Premier League? I don't know. We both say Fulham's go down.
Maybe he might not with Joe Bryan.
True. We both say Fulham go down. I've got them going 19th. You got them 18th. They were a bit lucky last year.
I've got West Brom in 19th, and the reason I've put West Brom go down is because because Slaven Bilic, he only really had that one good season with West Ham, and then it all went down from there. And they've still got the players from last season. They haven't really properly invested a lot into the squad. So I just don't think they'll have enough, and I think they'll be in there at the start, and then I think Bilic may end up sacked, and they won't be able to recover.
Probably. I haven't put West Brom there, but my team that's different to yours in the relegation battle is Brighton. I think Brighton have done very well. I've looked at their business. They've got some good players, like Feltman is brilliant, but other than that, it's not really Premier League quality, if you get what I mean. It seems like they're happy to fight for relegation, get it, and then be on the beach. It's like, if you're Brighton, you want to get better each year. I just think that there's 17
and then
above them that are better than them this year, and that includes West Brom and Leeds, in my opinion.
I'll go on to Brighton where I've put them after, but obviously we've both got Villa, so
I think Villa were very lucky last year.
The reason I think they'll go down is because they haven't brought in a lot, and they've still got the same team. I think the defence worries me because they're all right going forward with Grealish, McGinn, players like that, but they haven't brought in more defenders, which they kind of leaked a lot of goals last season, and I think they were second for. They lost goal. They were second for games lost after winning positions. I think West Ham were only worse than them. So, if they'd have brought in a couple of defenders maybe, and maybe another attacker, which actually they are close to signing Ollie Watkins, so I think that could change. It could change if they get him in and he plays how he did at Brentford, but
I think it's a stupid move for.
at the minute I can't.
I think he should stay at Brentford just for one more year. He was their best player last
Yeah.
year. If you're getting like 35 million for him, then yeah, sell him to Villa because Villa lost out on getting Callum Wilson, who was one of their targets. And you're thinking, Ollie Watkins, Callum Wilson, who's better? Probably you'll think Callum Wilson because he has got the Premier League experience.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Villa have only recently just got promoted. They've got some players that have got that experience of the Premier League, but not at all. Like, they were very lucky last year. Anyway, we'll move on to go to 17th to 12th. We'll do. So this is not mid-table, but in a relegation back, but should survive. So 17th, I've got West Ham. And in 16th, I've got West Brom. 15th, Crystal Palace. 14th, Leeds. 13th, Sheffield United. And 12th, Newcastle.
Well, I'm for 17th Crystal Palace, 16th West Ham, 15th Brighton, 14th Newcastle, 13th Sheffield United, and 12th Leeds.
Interesting. So we both today Sheffield United to survive and get 13th. That's interesting. You said West Ham. Who did you put 17th again?
Crystal Palace.
Is that based if they keep Sahar or if they lose it?
Just hold on one sec. Yeah.
So is that based on like Sahar staying or leaving for Palace to be 17th?
I just think they could go 17th if he's still there, because since the restart I think they were one of the worst teams. Maybe only Norwich were worse than them, but they've just lost form and they never gained it back throughout the last part of the season. So I do think they will be in a little bit of a scrap this year. I do think they'll survive, but if Zaha does go and Villa get Watkins, I think maybe they could go down if they don't replace him properly.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've got Palace a bit higher, 15th, but is this going to be Roy Hodgson's last year?
I think it could be. You know, he's had a few years there. He has done a brilliant job. You know what they were like when he came in. They were bottom of the league, no goals scored, 7 losses in a row, and then he just came in and he took them to mid-table. So I think they could survive. I'm not saying they're going to go down because I think they'll have enough to survive, but I do think they'll have problems if Zaha leaves.
Okay. Like, we'll get on to all the rest of these predictions during the season, late after we go through the table. We both said Leeds and Newcastle will be higher than 15th, comfortably near mid-table, but have a good solid season. Or how impressed are you with Leeds' business at the moment?
Well, I do think that Rodrigo is a great signing. They've brought in a centre back from Freiburg. They're called Koch. But I think if Rodrigo can get his form, with the way Leeds play, I think they could upset a lot of teams. And I think they could. I think they'll, with Marcelo Bielsa in charge, and I think a few other teams are kind of weaker, or that at the moment they're not on very good form. Whether they might change that, I don't know. But I think Leeds will have a good year this year, and I think they'll end up 12th.
Okay, so I've got them 14th. I think they'll have an okay year. They'll survive. I wouldn't be surprised in January that if they brought in a striker, because it's what most clubs in the relegation battle do. They realise that they need some more goals, so they bring in a striker, or they may bring in another centre back. I think they'll be similar to Sheffield United, but won't be as high because they've got their own unique style of play, which is Bielsa football, and we'll just wait and see. Right, so we'll go from 11th to 8th now. So these are the teams that will be top half mid-table. Just missed out. So in 11th, I've got Leicester. 10th, I've got Burnley. 9th, Southampton. And 8th, Everton. And you've got?
Well, I've gone for 11th Burnley. I've gone for Leicester in 10th. I've gone for Southampton in 9th. I've gone for Wolves in 8th.
So we both predicted roughly similar. So we both say Southampton, Burnley, and Leicester. So are we saying Leicester will drop off due to European football?
Yeah, I think the squad's going to be very stretched.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll. With losing Chilwell as well, and you don't know if this new left back's going to play well, you don't know if.
In the Champions League, so it was quite decent.
I don't think. I think they'll be. I do think they'll be in maybe the bottom half throughout quite a bit of the season, but then I think once they stop having Europa League games, if they get knocked out, or obviously when the group stage ends, they've got a little bit of break from it. I do think they'll maybe. I think that's when they'll climb the table, and because I think they'll put a bit more focus on Premier League. So I do think they'll end up 10th, but they could end up a little bit lower, or maybe even a little bit higher.
Yeah. We've got Burnley in. You've got them in 11th. I've got them in 10th. Are we saying Burnley may be right now one of the most consistent Premier League teams that there is, who just get on with it? They've got their own style of play. It may not be entertaining, but it's effective.
Well, I do think they're maybe the most boring team in the league, but obviously Sean Dyche, he knows how to defend, as we saw against Liverpool. They're the only ones draw at Anfield last season, but I think they get overlooked a lot sometimes because people predict them to go down, which I think they're too good to go down. I just think that Pope, Tarkowski, this team that they've got, I think they've got a good Premier League stability team.
Definitely. Right. So we both say Southampton at 9th. I think we haven't fully seen it, but we know that they've lost Højbjerg this year, and that's an interesting one. But he wanted to leave. I think Southampton wanted him to leave. Do you think then that having said that, Southampton have got on the opening day of weekend Crystal Palace? If they get a good start, we could see Southampton pushing back where they used to be under Ronald Koeman and all those, and Pochettino, where they were consistently top 10, like top half, 100%, like every year.
Well, they've been. I think they picked up the fifth most amount of points since their 9-0 defeat to Leicester. I think the only team who lost more than them since the restart was Man United, who didn't lose a game. So I do Southampton if they could bring in a couple more players. I don't know if they're going to, but I think with the squad they've got, and if Danny Ings keeps on scoring like he did last season, I think they could go even better. I think they could maybe push for top 6, but I think 9th is a good position for them after last season.
Definitely. Right, so we'll move on now to 8th. I've put Everton, you put Wolves. I'll say this now, my 7th team is Wolves. your 17th Everton? Any chance?
Yeah, I've put some seventh. The
Yeah.
reason I've put Wolves, the reason I've put Wolves in eighth is because they, I think they've lost Doherty, but they haven't actually brought in a new right back yet. They were going to go for Maitland-Niles, but he's obviously staying at Arsenal. So I think they might. I think Doherty will be a big loss for them. But then obviously they've brought in Mossal, that centre back slash left back. They've brought in 35 million record signing for Fabio Silva, who's only 18.
19, and he is a wonder kid, but
I think,
will he play? I think he's there as your backup if you need to change something. Could we see a different formation from Wolves this year, maybe, if they have lost?
maybe. I think. But to be honest, I think even without Doherty, I think they'll be quite fine, and they could end. I think they could end up in seventh. You know, I aren't saying they're going to end up eighth, but I do think they can end up seventh quite easily again. Maybe even push for the top six because they've got an advantage.
Yeah.
They're not in Europe. They haven't got to play all those extra games like they did last year.
Yeah, we see that a lot because every time, like, if a team doesn't have that distraction of European football, you're like, okay, they could do well this year. So it's one of those. We'll see what happens. So I've got Wolves seventh because I think they've got a certain style and they are all together. They are connected. They know each other because it's the similar squad that got promoted, and they rarely change it. Like they bring in a few signings each year to make them a bit better, or like Everton who just keep building, bringing in players, and there's no chemistry currently. I think if you keep the same team from last season and keep it consistent each year, you can build up chemistry and get them playing. Johnny knows how Cody plays. Cody knows how Eric Willy Bolly plays. Jimenez knows how Neto and Diego Jota plays. Or like Thomas Rodriguez doesn't know how Alan Decore play. That's going to be an interesting one. See how long it takes for them to gel this season.
Yeah, well, I've put Everton seventh because, well, they've got. I think I wouldn't put them in seventh if they hadn't got Carlo Ancelotti, but I just think he knows what he's doing. This is his kind of rebuild. I think they'll come up short from the top six. I don't think they're good enough hit that top six yet. And I think they still could end up seventh to a good ninth or 10th, maybe. But I think if Alan, Decore, and James all gel well, and if they come in and play well, which I definitely think Decore will because he's got Premier League experience. I think he was one of Watford's best players. So I think if they can link with the attackers, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin and whoever else they play, I think that they could. I think they will end up solid seventh place, and build on next year to even go even higher.
Definitely. Right, let's get on to sixth, fifth then. So I've got Arsenal as sixth, fifth is Spurs. I think it'll be between those two.
Yeah, I've actually at first I had them Tottenham sixth, Arsenal fifth, but I've changed them around last night. So Arsenal sixth, Tottenham fifth.
Yeah, I think
So
when you look at the business both teams have done, I've recently watched the Tottenham documentary. I haven't finished it yet. I'm on episode 5. It's a good documentary, I have to say. Spurs, to me, I think are in a better shape than Arsenal. Arsenal may need a couple more years, maybe another transfer window after this one, before they can compete for top 4 again. I think that would be a shock to see Arsenal.
I think Arsenal. I think Arsenal. I think they could push. I do think it'll be very close between my fourth place to sixth because I think Arsenal are. I think they've got a. I think they're going to be improved because they've got William Saliba, Pablo Mari, um, Gabriel, who's came in as well. So, and then if they get Hussein Mawar and maybe Thomas Partey in midfield, I think if they link up with Ceballos, they got Willian. I do think they could have a very good year. They beat Chelsea in the FA Cup final. They beat Liverpool in the Community Shield. They beat Liverpool in the league. They beat Man City in the cup. I think Arteta knows what he's doing, but I just think they'll come up short towards April, and maybe even go down to the last couple of games. But I think it'll be close, but they'll end up sixth.
Definitely. Right. I guess we'll might as well do our Champions League then. I've got Man United in fourth, Chelsea in third, second Man City, Liverpool first. Basically the same as last year. Top four, I think it will be.
I'm going with Man United fourth. I'm going with Chelsea third. I'm going Liverpool second. Man City as the champions.
See, we both agree for it to be roughly similar, just a battle between Man City and Liverpool. Do you think Chelsea could stand a chance of challenging there? So I think they could this year.
Well, the thing is, I think I do think that I'm not saying this as being biased, but I think that Chelsea, I think we will be maybe the most exciting team for parts of the season, and I think Man United will. I think they will put up a fight for the first part of the season. They've got Van de Beek coming. They might get a couple more players, and I'm not sure yet. The transfer window's still going till I think the 5th of October. But I think Man U will fall up short in fourth. But Chelsea, I think we've had the best window. We've brought 7 players in. We've got. I think the only place where we're going to struggle is if we don't bring in a goalkeeper, and if one of our defenders gets injured, I don't think we've got the backup with Champions League as well. I think if you can gel all the players together, then maybe push for second at a push first. But I just think third will be a good place for us this year because I don't think we're on the level of Man City or Liverpool yet. And I think we will go to. I think we could have the potential to go in a title race till maybe March, April, and I think that's when sort of Man City and Liverpool edge forward, and we could still end up 10 points behind. I don't think the gap will be quite caught this year. I do think we need another defender to do it. But all in all, I think Werner, Havertz, Ziyech, linking up with Pulisic, Mount, Kovacic, I think it's going to be a very, very exciting attack when you all gel.
Definitely. I think you've definitely had one of the best windows. I will discuss that later on in the year. But who's had the best? But I think the reason why I've got Chelsea third and not second, like I think some people may, is I think we've got to see how they play. I think Man City won't win the league this year again because I don't think Nathan Ake is enough for them. If they get somebody like a old type Carlos Puyol, who obviously can't get, but like that sort of character as a leader from that back, like a Van Dijk, I think their best signing would be De Vrij from Inter Milan or Godin from Inter Milan, who may be a bit old, but has the knowledge of winning titles and keeping that defence in line. They need that sort of player who's at the back, knows where to pass it and how to command his defensive line. They missed that last year. We've seen it a lot. We saw calamity defending against Norwich, against Chelsea, everything. That defence was awful in that they lost company. I still don't think they replaced company. That's why I've got Liverpool first. I think it'll happen again. It'll probably be a bit tighter,
I think
but I think Liverpool got it in the bag again, and I don't know why. I just do.
I think this year, I think Ferran Torres and Nathan Ake are. I think they are good signings.
They're good, but are they what Man
Um,
City needed?
But they have said, Man City have said that they are working on like 4 or 5 signings. So I think if the main one, if they bring in a centre back and maybe another defender with it as well, and obviously if they could get rid of John Stones, Otamendi maybe, Garcia could go. I think, and a midfield as well, midfielder. I think they're going in for another midfielder and a striker. I think they will win the league. The form after the restart, with some players out as well, I think that they could. I think they're going to win the league again because they're not going to want Liverpool win the league again. And since the restart, they were probably the best team since the restart. They were hammering every team that went to the Etihad. Yet their away form's got to be improved because they lost to Southampton, they lost to Chelsea, and then they lost to someone else as well. They lost to Arsenal in the FA Cup. So I think looking at them after the restart, I think that they will. I think they'll be back next year. They won't want a year like that again last year. But I think if Liverpool get Thiago, I think that'll be a great signing. I think Minamino's going to step up this year. I've seen him, in friendlies, and he looks quite exciting. It looks like he could maybe get in the squad a few times in the year. So I do think that it will be very close. I think it'll be close this year. I don't think there'll be anyone. I don't think any team is going to go 19 points clear like Liverpool won it by last year. No, 18 points. Yeah. But if Thiago comes in, I think he will. When Wijnaldum leaves, I think he'll be a upgrade. I think he'll give him that extra in midfield. But I think Man City are going to pick them to the title because they're just a fantastic team. Guardiola's he's gonna be wanting to get that Premier League title back this year. I think they will.
He does, but I just think
they will be.
Right.
But I do think if Man City don't buy anyone else and Liverpool get Thiago, I think Liverpool could edge through and win it.
Yeah, I think I've got Liverpool as my champions. I think that's probably what I'm going to say. I think I've said it before and I'll say it again. I said it last year, I'll say it this year. They have to replace company. And you've got to replace company instantly. They didn't do that last year and look what happened. They lost the title. This year, they still haven't replaced company in my opinion. Ake's good. He's no leader at the back.
One thing that I do want to say though is, I think if they keep Aguero fit for the whole season, because he's been injured for, practically half of this season. Laporte's been out for a lot of the season as well. I think if they can keep Laporte and Aguero fit, and if they don't bring in a centre back, Fernandinho with Laporte in centre back, but I think if they do bring in a centre back, a big centre back like Koulibaly, who they've been linked with, or Jimenez, any of them big centre backs across Europe.
Yeah.
I do think that they could. I do think they'll win it because if they can keep all the players fit, I think it'll be very close. I think it would have been closer last year if Laporte and Aguero were fit for more game time.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Time to move on to the season predictions. We've got 5 to go through. More than that, probably about like 8, probably. And a special one at the end that Leo does not know about yet. So we're going to start off with surprise team of the season. Who's going to be your surprise team of the season?
Oh well, I think my surprise team. I was going to say Leeds, but I don't. I think everyone's expecting them end up mid-table. So I think my surprise. I'm gonna go with Everton, and purely because I don't think they're expected to jump straight up by a lot of people. A lot of people aren't convinced with James and Alan Decore. They're not convinced properly that they're gonna be amazing. So I think Everton's got to be the surprise team.
Definitely. Right, I've gone for Southampton as my prediction.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
As surprise team of the season. I think last year they were a shock. Last year it was Sheffield United. I think everybody agrees on that one. I think this year Southampton, if they get top 10, even if they sneak in somehow, that's a surprise, a good season for them. First manager to be sacked.
I think it's between two because of the board. Obviously all the boards have, the different ways, but I think I'm going to go with David Moyes, and the reason I'm going with David Moyes is because last night I looked at West Ham, and
we may have lost Liam there for a second.
I'm on. West Ham, their first 7 games are. Hold on, one sec. I think they're going to have a very poor start because West Ham's first 7 games, they've got Newcastle at home, which is going to be a bit tougher now, isn't it? Because of Wilson, Fraser, they've brought in a few players. Arsenal away, they got Wolves at home. Then they've got Leicester away, Tottenham away, Man City at home, Liverpool away. So I think with the form they've been on, I think it's going to be a very tough start. I think they have the toughest start out of everyone. And I think if they don't get going after them games, I think Moyes will be sacked this year.
I'm going for something similar. Dean Smith with Villa. I think Villa may panic and get rid of him.
Yeah. I think he'll be sacked by Christmas. I do, yeah.
Right. Most improved. So a team that was absolutely shocking last year and will be improved. I'm going to go for Southampton. I think that's probably maybe fair, but is it though? Southampton fair? Most improved?
Yeah, I think
it is because they had
I think
they covered well, but definitely I think they'll be most improved this year.
I think my most improved, I think, is going to be. I think it's between a couple, and it's actually top 6 teams, which I do think that Arsenal, because for large parts of last season, I think they were awful. They didn't. I think they won in September, and they didn't win a Premier League game for 3 months. Brighton did the double over them, so I think they'll be much improved this year, same as Tottenham with my other team. But I definitely think they'll be improved this next season.
Top goal scorer.
Oh, I think you're gonna get Sterling up there again. You know, I think you're gonna get Martial up there. You're gonna get Werner up there. You're gonna get a lot of these big players up there, but you know, even Ings, Jimenez. My top three, I think, this year are going to be Aubameyang, Mane, and Aguero if he stays fit. Maybe Salah as well. But I think the one I'm going to pick for top scorer, I think it's going to be Aubameyang. I think he's going to get it again. The way he's been playing recently is phenomenal.
In his first year, it was 40 last year. This year, it's going to be, and I'm saying this now, it's going to be Salah. Salah's going to do it again. He's going to have another good.
I think he could, yeah. I think Harry Kane is a potential shout as well because he's 12 goals in 18 games under Mourinho. So,
PFA Player of the Year / Young Player of the Year. So I want both. So who's going to be the main one?
I think this year, this is hard at the start of the season because you haven't seen anyone play, but I can't really. I think there's two in mind, and I think it's going to be repetitive, but I think the young is going to be. I think it's going to be. It could. I'm going to go out there with a shout, and I'm going to say. I think it's. I think if he can play really well, I think Havertz is going to pip Foden, Greenwood, and Alexander-Arnold to it. And then me, Player of the Year, I think it's going to be, unless Mane has a absolutely amazing season, I think De Bruyne again. I can't really
go for it. I think De Bruyne's going to be Player of the Year. I think Young Player of the Year for me this year is going to be, I think they will probably be playing for Man City, Foden.
Yeah, he is up there with a shout. Yeah.
Maybe Trent again, but
yeah,
Foden may just get it
because
consistently gets played this year. Right, next one is one of the big ones. The dirtiest. Who's going to get the most red cards this year?
Oof. Who got the most red cards last year?
Louise. By red cards, I mean by team. So which team will get the most red cards this year?
This is an odd one. Anyone could. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say Leeds, because I think they're gonna get stuck in. I think they're gonna, fight for the staying.
But I'm going to say Arsenal will get it.
Yeah, if David Luiz plays.
Yeah. And now the final one, well, the penultimate one is who will be Manager of the Year? So last year it was Klopp. Who will it be this year?
I think it could come down to the Premier League winners. So maybe Guardiola, Klopp maybe in there. I think if we have a really good season, I think Lampard could be a shout. I'm going. I don't want to sound biased, but I think I'm going to go Lampard because I think he'll push Liverpool and Man City for a lot. I think he'll chase them a little bit.
I'm going to go for Klopp.
A good part. Yeah, I think it'll be one of the top 3 this year. I think because it's going to be close.
And the last one is obviously Euro 2021 is going to happen this year, hopefully, or Euro 2020. Who is going to be the most surprise England call-up? Now, this could be anybody.
Well,
but the rules are they've got to have a maximum of 5 caps to be a surprise. So, not Kane, those sort of ones.
I'm going for Bukayo Saka at Arsenal because I think he's a great young talent, and I think if he can get a lot of game time this season for Arsenal and he plays well like he has done throughout the season, I think he will be very good.
I'm going to go for a man that's just signed, and I think Callum Wilson is going to get a surprise England call-up, and it'll be a surprise because it will be the first Newcastle English player to be called up for a World Cup squad since Shearer and Farrell. So that's our predictions. And you're going to say something? I'll let you finish off. Okay.
Well, that's all.
Okay, so we'll be back for the start of the season. So we record these on Wednesdays. We'll upload them every Friday. I think it's the plan. Maybe Thursday if we can.
Yeah.
Just before, in case there is a Friday night game, we will be previewing all games and reviewing the opening day weekend. And for once, again, like lockdown, every game in September is going to be live on Football UK TV. So hopefully, we will be able to watch most of them and give our full hope. So I've been CJ. This has been Liam. And we've been the Prem Talking Podcast. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.